Oh, it's just gone everywhere.
What was
Literally everywhere. I've just opened up a jar and I just spilled whatever shit was in there, just fucking all over the place.
Oh, please put that clip in at the very beginning on the outtakes.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from More Than Lifting. This is a More Than Lifting podcast with me and my good friend Coach / Chris Thatcher. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Coach slash, yeah, thanks for that.
The slash-in coach. Smashing and slashing.
Yeah, no, I'm all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. We're talking about bodyweight training, calisthenics, gymnastic, strength, skills, handstands, sometimes a bit of clean and snatch work because, let's face it, Chris is a gay boy. And and that's about it. So what are we talking about today? Actually, you know what, mate? I've had a lazy week. I've finished off my cycle. I've been deloading. So I haven't got a lot to report in terms of progression, but I hear you have.
No, not a lot of progression, mate. But no, we were just chatting before the call for everyone listening, and I just happened to mention that I wasn't really doing a great deal of progress at the moment. But yeah, just more maintenance training because other priorities are just sort of coming into my life right now, other things I need to be getting on with, and time just isn't really on my side, so I'm having to be kind of quick in and out of the gym. I don't have the sort of energy or the focus that I would otherwise when I'm trying to really chase some big numbers. So training's been more about maintenance. However, my snatch just crept back up to my pre-Christmas PB last week, which was quite nice. And given that I wasn't really focused on it too much this month, I'd backed away from it and I was just doing more sort of low-level skill work with it, i.e. just trying to perfect the movement. And obviously with something like that, and anyone that's done that sort of training before, and I guess it correlates to bodyweight training to some extent, in that just by focusing in on the movement, sometimes you do have to have a certain amount of resistance to it, to actually get the skill tight. For example, I could be throwing 20, 30 kilos or just the bar up into a snatch, but it doesn't teach my body anything because I'm deceiving the movement somewhat because there's no resistance to it.
It's too easy,
Exactly. So it's, there's a place for doing it to a very, very low level just to kind of warm up and prep. And, if you just don't fancy doing any sort of heavy work because something's playing up, but you want to get the movement in, then fine. But even when it's coming to actually developing just the skill and the movement, you want somewhere of 40, 50, 60% of your max for that, the repetition range particularly, to work against. So I had obviously been putting weight on the bar, and it just sort of slowly crept up because I felt like I needed a little bit more resistance to work with, not because I was chasing the numbers. And very gradually, without even consciously trying for it, the numbers just crept back up to where they were, as I say, before Christmas, which was quite nice. So that was my one little achievement last week. Everything else has really just been maintenance. In fact, the challenge for me with training at the moment is trying to be super efficient with it. It's trying to make sure I'm getting the most in the least amount of time, rather than saying, okay, well, I give myself an hour and a half in the gym because I know I do sort of have that time if I want to give it to myself, understanding that that's just not a reality for me at this moment in time. So as we've talked about on previous episodes, looking at it in the context of my real life right now, what is going on, what other priorities I have, other things I want to get done, because I know that by clearing them off my to-do list, by getting further traction with my business work and other stuff in my personal life as well, that's going to free me up to have more energy and more headspace and more attention and focus to my training further down the line. So it's okay just to pull back. And I really like there's a guy called Jonathan Fields, I'm not sure if I mentioned him before, his sort of mindset around creating a good life, creating a well-balanced and well-integrated life, it's very similar to my own, insofar as that he talks about the idea of these buckets, or good life buckets as he calls them. So one being for vitality, one being for connection, and one for contribution. And I kind of describe these things slightly differently when I talk to people about it, but let's stick with that model for now. And it's very much about making sure that one or two or even three are never really, really low, never kind of empty your bucket in its entirety, but understanding that keeping them all brimming over it all at the same time is a very hard thing to do. You're not going to be at your absolute peak on an athletic level and necessarily smashing it completely in your business and your personal life. There's always something that just falls back a little bit. It's how far you let it and how much attention you put towards that away from the other things when you know that all those other things are ticking over quite nicely right now, whereas actually you want to put your attention somewhere else. So it's kind of spinning plates as well. You know, it's really just sort of saying, okay, well, this one's ticking over quite nicely now I can go and attend to that one. But invariably you're going to have to go back to the first plate just to kind of get it going again at some point. Yeah, anyway, before that analogy goes too far down the rabbit hole, let's pull it back and talk about what you've been doing this week.
I've had my feet up. It's been nice.
Oh,
I haven't been doing any training really. It's been doing my deloading. It's been really good. Nice and chill. Been catching up on stuff on Netflix.
Was it an intentional deload week? As in this was in the cycle?
It wasn't 100% intentional, but that's just because like through Christmas I've just kind of kept going, and I was planning on doing it earlier, like when at kind of mid-January, but it just didn't happen. Like I've just still been training, I've still been doing stuff, and yeah, so that's kind of I just kind of postponed it really, and because getting prepared for this webinar, which I'm going to be doing about an hour after we record this podcast, just about time for dinner. And so with that kind of up in arrears, getting all that shit together, and kind of dealing with everything else, I've been working on a lot of well, similar to you, like it's very much been the office role of my website recently. So it's just been trying to keep up, juggle all my different bits that I've got, and just keep everything going. But yeah, so it's been a bit mental in terms of work, but in terms of training, it's been nice and relaxed, which is really nice. I've actually, you know what? I got up this morning and I thought, oh, it feels like I haven't done a handstand in ages. So I did one, and that I was like, yep, deload's over.
It is nice though, isn't it? Sometimes you just get that feeling that I just want to do that thing. You know, I just want to do a few press-ups. I just want to do a handstand. You know, I get this real physical urge to do that particular thing.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice to feel like that, you know, rather than think, oh, I've got to go to the gym today, which, you know, I don't think you or I ever really suffer from any degree of kind of overwhelm or stress around going to the gym. You know, I understand that once I'm there, no matter what I'm having to put down to go and do that, I know that I'm going to benefit massively on the back end of it. Once I've got that session in, I'm going to feel a lot more connected, I'm going to feel a lot more energized, I'm just going to feel good within my body. So I never get that to that degree, but that's not to say that, yeah, but it's not to, exactly, it's not to say that every time I have to go to the gym or I've scheduled to go to the gym, I'm thinking, yes, I can't wait to get there, I'm absolutely gagging for it, you know, I really, really want to do this. So it's lovely when you just kind of get that feeling of, I've got to move, I've got to do this thing, you know, and sometimes I'll even apply it in the program, that if I don't know where it comes from or what kind of sets it off, but if I'm in the gym and I've got a very set idea in my mind of what program I'm working on, what lifts I'm going to do, sometimes if I feel like doing something else, I really do go with it. I really just say, do you know what, I know I'm meant to be deadlifting today or doing handstands today, but you know, it's not a pull-up day, but I'm just craving some pull-ups. I'm craving some heavy pull-ups, you know, some good, get the weight belt on, pile some plates on and just go, you know, really low rep and just really test that movement. And if I'm in the mood for it, then I know I'm going to smash it as well. So I'm happy to offset the other stuff that I'm doing, maybe back into another part of the week or into another day. Because cool. Why not? You know, how often do you get that vibe of, I really want to do this exact thing right now, and you're in a position to actually do it?
Yeah, I had that kind of the weighted pull urge about just after New Year's, and I hadn't done. I got my dipping belt, but I hadn't used it in ages. Like the last time I did anything like weighted pulls or dips or anything, I did was like a year and a half ago. And what I was doing was trying just like the max rep, just seeing how much weight I could load and get a thing in. And the problem is we only really had up to about 30 kilos. Of extra weight, like a vest, what's it called, a weighted vest, and the dipping belt with some plates. So I could do. I had 30 kilos loaded for 2 reps of pull-ups, like good ones, I mean, and like good range of motion, not good. Like fast.
yeah, of course.
The second one took bloody ages, but I got there. And with the dips, I did 5.
Oh really?
Couldn't believe it.
That's not bad.
Yeah. With a 30?
really good.
That
Yeah.
that was a year and a half ago now. I don't think I'd be able to do that now. But when I did it, I was loading like 15 kilos, and I was doing 6 and 8, 6 pulls, 8 dips.
Nice.
And my dip just generally is higher than my pull. I can usually get about 2 or 3 more reps in at any one point. And I don't know if that's just because it's it takes less kind of, it's a less complex movement, and it just kind of relies on your kind of your triceps and your chest to really, do you know what I mean? Or whereas your back, it's your shoulder, it's all of that stuff over your back into your traps, your rhomboids, your lats, everything's kind of going. So I think it might just be the connectivity and the neuromuscular control that I have, or that anyone would have. It just takes longer to develop with the pulls, or I'm not quite sure. I haven't read a lot into the science behind it, but that's just what I found as a common thread, is that people tend to do, a couple less pull-ups than they can dips.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's more just about range of motion than anything else. If you think about the range on a dip, because of your forearms ultimately staying in pretty much the same position, so you're hinging at the elbow.
Yeah.
So your kind of torque and your resistance is really kind of being distributed from your elbow up to your shoulder. If you think about it, and obviously incorporating the chest as a stabilizer and a concentric aspect of the movement as well. But when you think, if you're in a pull-up, think about the length of your lever. Then obviously it's from the grip position, which is your hand, all the way down to your shoulder. So it's double, in theory, the range of movement, because you're not just coming up. If you were coming up halfway, so if you were in a dead hang in the pull-up, and then you just pulled up so that your arms were at 90 degrees. Well, not even that. So your arms are at 90 degrees. So you're just kind of there in a hang with your elbows flexed in a right angle. So you're not pulling those last few inches up. But when you think about that top end, when your biceps are having to kick in and kind of complete the movement for you, that's obviously where the real intensity kind of comes in, because you're so much more reliant on that smaller muscle to get you through those last few ranges or those last few degrees of the movement. It really just comes down to levers more than anything else.
It makes sense now. Now we've sat down and kind of broken it apart, because you do move a smaller distance doing dips. Yeah.
Well, and just the angle of your body as well. It's far less vertical. You're obviously pushing a lot of the weight forward into the chest as well. Whereas in a pull-up, it's very hard. I mean, you can I wouldn't even call it cheating a pull-up, because it does invariably make it harder. But as you're pulling up, and I don't know if this is a kind of discipline or a technique in gymnastics particularly, but as you pull, you lift the chest, so you recruit. So for a lot of people, when they do a pull-up, they focus just on the vertical aspect of the movement, whereas for not just strength but also shoulder health as well, it can be really advantageous to lift the chest as the first part of the movement. So you're in that dead hang.
So like that shoulder engagement.
Yeah, exactly. So you push the chest to the ceiling, and what you'll feel immediately, if you just stand there and do that now, is as you lift the chest, the scapula depresses and retracts, so it pushes down and in. So you feel immediately everything through your rhomboid, your subscap, your trapezius, everything's now engaged through the shoulders. So you're then able to engage and pull through that, then use the lats to bring you up through the second half of the movement, and then obviously, as I say, use the lats and biceps to really finish off the movement. And
get those elbows behind you.
Exactly. Ooh. So that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people kind of just end up dead hanging and trying to go up and down in a straight line. But if you look, when people are getting fatigued in a pull-up, the compensation is to lift the chest, is to kind of try and bring the legs up and change the angle of the body. It's like with any sort of overhead work. If you're doing a handstand, invariably as someone starts to fatigue, they start to hyperextend the back, and obviously the body's just trying to compensate through the chest and bring other muscles into it that aren't as fatigued as, say, the shoulders, triceps, etc.
Yeah, so traps, upper traps especially. I don't know about you, but when I do handstands, blimey, right, that nice lump on top of your shoulder, but bottom of your neck, those bits, right upper traps, they really get a good beat in. Oh, definitely. So with the pull-up, as I say, if you start with that compensation and don't see it as a compensation, see it as a strength, a strength builder, see it as a stability and mobility and general health builder as well, something that's going to enhance the movement but also enhance your functionality through the movement, and obviously your sort of general shoulder care as well, and thoracic spine to some extent if you're going to get into it in particular. But if you start with that,
set that intention. It's like if you're doing any horizontal row work as well. Really good example, if you're doing Olympic ring rows or TRX rows, or even doing any weighted stuff with a cable machine. If you're for the first part of the movement, I mean, obviously that's more that just has more emphasis onto the upper back anyway, because of the angle of the position, because you're horizontal more than vertical. So obviously it's lats, but it just by default will hit more into the upper back muscles as well. But if the first part of the movement is as your arms are extended and you're holding the weight or holding the straps, the handles, whatever, if the first movement is to retract the shoulders, to pull them in and then pull through with the arms, immediately the first thing you'll feel is the back engage. Those muscles are completely fired up now, so you're getting the benefit of them in the movement, which means you should in theory be able to move more, but you're also going to get the hypertrophy benefit, the muscle building benefit, the strength gain benefit, because you're hitting into muscles that otherwise could be a little bit dormant when you see people just pulling more with the arms. And especially, I think you kind of said it just then, when you're really driving the elbows back past the line of the body as well. That's one thing you just don't see enough when people are doing horizontal work in particular, but even pull-ups, is really just focusing on driving those elbows back past the line of the body to maximize the range and the muscle recruitment as well.
Yeah, well, it's the last bit of the movement. If you're not focusing on bringing your elbows behind you, you'll only ever be able to pull up to the top of your chest, because that's where your elbows get in line. But once you bring your elbows behind you, if you're doing that now, you'll notice that your hands end up down the bottom of your chest. Yeah. Instead of up on neck, in touching your shoulders, basically. And that little bit is the top range of motion of a pull, and that's what starts that transition to a muscle up. Yes. And that preparation, like you were saying, where you engage your shoulders and bring your chest up, or like, do you know what I mean, accentuate it and really give it a bit of boof. That's a technique that we teach everyone. Inverted rows, like you were saying, pull-ups. It's a necessity, because that gets your back engaged, it brings it into the exercise, and it sets your shoulders in place as well, which otherwise you'll have your shoulders sticking up by your ears, your elbows will flay out to the sides, and you'll be all kinds of twisted and awkward, and it just be a shit movement.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a really good habit to get into. Now, on the flip side of that, if your main focus, because you might have some people listening in who are just really their goal, and it's okay because we talk about things in cycles, their goal right now is just hypertrophy. It's muscular development on a size and a mass level as opposed to a strength level. And that's not to say they're completely separate. Obviously there is a crossover between the two. But when you're actually looking at hypertrophy, if you're looking at muscle growth, a more limited range can be extremely advantageous, because you're less concerned with the range of movement, so therefore you can load heavier, because you're not going to pull. If you're only, let's say you're doing let's use a lat pull down as an example, rather than a pull up, just a lat pull down machine. So pulling with the bar from the top, sitting in the chair with the pad across the knees. If you're pulling down on that, let's say you're doing, 60 kilos for 10 reps with a full range of movement, that's great, fantastic. But if you're not going to do those same 10, say with 80 kilos, you're going to start to kind of lose the range somewhere between, say, like 6 and 8 repetitions towards the back end of it, because of the increase of 20 kilos, assuming the 60 was your maximum. So what you can do is obviously load that up, but from the very first rep, and kind of like what we were saying before about maximizing the range of motion and the recruitment of the upper back, from the very first rep, if hypertrophy, if growth is the focus, except that you want to work with a limited range, because it's 80 kilos, you're going to lose almost all of the range towards the back end anyway if you try and start going at the max level. So you just kind of do a more partial rep. Now you still want a fair amount of range of motion, so in that example you still want the elbows to come down past the shoulders just slightly. You don't want to be kind of stuck with the elbows still up in the air, so there's hardly any recruitment going on anywhere in the body. It's just those first few inches that you've moved in, and that's it. But you do want to be less complete in the range, so just maybe bring the elbows down so they're, I don't know, let's say about 3 or 4 inches away from the side of the body, rather than being pulled in as tight as possible. So that then helps, because you can load more weight, but also you're under tension a lot more, because this is the thing that I think a lot of people disregard, is that when you actually do go with a full range of motion, you're more than likely relaxing or resting a little bit at the top and the bottom end of the movement, because you're either dead hanging in a pull-up, or you're kind of locked in so tight at the top of a pull-up that there's not actually really a great deal of intensity. The intensity is the mid-range, is that kind of middle, let's say 60% of the movement, let's say it's 30% at the bottom, 30% at the top, that mid 60%, that's really going to be where every single part of that of your muscle complex for that movement is going to be completely engaged and under tension in some way, shape or form. Same with the press up. You can drop into a press up and just lock out the scaps at the bottom and just rest into it.
Yeah.
Likewise at the top, you can push out, lock out the arms. And you see people when they fatigue, what do they do on a press up? They just lock out at the top and hold the position. They're not collapsing. Their arms aren't giving away from under them. They're just holding because they know that as soon as they drop into the next one, the chest, triceps and shoulders are that bit fatigued that they're going to,
go to sleep.
Exactly. They're going to face plant the floor.
Yeah.
So, there's a rhyme and a reason to partial range. And for a long time, I was so anti that. But if that is the goal, i.e. muscular growth, then that's a good way to go about it. I know it's not a big part of what we're about here, but it can play a part.
Yeah, and it does matter to some extent as well. What I've been guilty of is being so strict with range of motion that I won't go to complete hypertrophy. I won't go to complete fatigue because it almost won't count. My last 2 or 3 reps won't count because they're not full. But like you say, that shouldn't stop you from hitting a rep range or from up in the scale. Of course, I'm not really using the weights, but that doesn't mean with a dip in belt or something that I could do like a 50% range dip and just up the weight on it really, really quickly because it will push that size and that strength, like you're saying. So maybe that's something I should look into.
Well, yeah, even if, it just come to thinking about it when you said that, even if it's not about hypertrophy, if you just want to improve on your capacity for that particular lift, that particular move, then creating more time under tension, i.e. being, every single rep is pretty much at a maximum level of intensity in terms of tension and muscular torque because you have limited the range now. So you're working only within that more intense percentage, like I said, then that's going to have a crossover when you go back to doing the full range stuff. Your endurance in that muscle, think of it kind of like another form of isometric loading, albeit more active. You're just holding that position or holding that tension for longer. So therefore there's going to be a crossover in terms of endurance, in terms of strength. And yes, you may have that benefit. Again, it doesn't just come down to, to anyone thinking about hypertrophy. You have to think about the diet as well. You have to make sure the calories are coming in to complement the extra hypertrophy work that you're doing with the weights and with the body weight stuff. But that it can all have that benefit, like we said at the beginning. It can have that crossover one way or the other. So for that reason, and also for variety, sometimes it is just fun to go a bit heavier, a little bit less on the range. And if you're really dialed in on your range of motion, 90% of the time, having one cycle where you or even just a couple of sessions a week in that one particular, let's say 4 or 5 week cycle, where you do that for fun, for shits and giggles, just because it's another way of stimulating your mind as well as your body, then great, because you're not going to lose the range on the other stuff. 1 month out isn't going to completely diminish all the work you've done over the previous months and years to actually optimize that range as fully as you can.
Yeah. This actually ties in quite nicely to what I'm planning for my next cycle, which I think you'll find quite interesting.
Go for it.
It's about endurance.
Right.
And I'm not talking running a marathon or anything like that. What I mean is hitting high rep ranges.
Cool.
So for pull-ups and dips, because I work on strict range of motion and I'm not going for high reps normally, I'll max out probably about 12, which isn't particularly a large amount. And for my size, I think people would imagine I could do more. But it's because I've worked strict movements, like full range of motion, absolute max, then I've always kind of just stopped around the 10, 12 mark. Because anymore, and I essentially it doesn't count. What I mean? Like, it doesn't count. I'm strict like that, it doesn't count. So I've been avoiding it. And what I want to do, because I'm doing the 100 push-up challenge, I want to hit 20. So I want to do 20 pulls, 20 dips, 20 leg raises. And I want to be, and that's my target for the next cycle.
That's a lot of fun. I did that, so I did an experiment about 6 months ago, I think it was, where it was a 4-day split. So 2 upper body, 2 lower body workouts.
Okay.
And so 1 upper body heavy, 1 lower body heavy, 1 upper body high rep, 1 lower body high rep. So I kind of set myself a limit on a rep range. For the lower rep stuff, it was anywhere from say 1 to 7 reps. And then the high rep stuff was, would start maybe at like 8 to 10, probably 10 actually more realistically would be the kind of lowest ones. But a lot of it was just a failure. So it was just, how many pull-ups can I do set 1, what's the drop off on set 2, and then just trying to improve those numbers, particularly obviously on the first set and the last set, because that was the kind of indicator of my endurance capability improving, because I could do more when I was fresh, but I still had enough into the tank to kind of top the numbers up. That was always the interesting thing, and the thing you find especially with pull-ups is that the first set will climb, increasingly and incrementally. So you'll start maybe you'll do 15 to failure, and then before you know it, you'll do 16, 17. Week on week, you'll normally be able to put on 1 or 2 reps, depending on the frequency of sessions you're doing around that stimulus. And then on the back end, you might just finish on your last set, whether it's set 5, 6, or whatever, with like 5 or 6 reps at best. But what you'll find is the middle 2 don't necessarily shift too much. You'll hit similar sort of numbers there, but it's the kind of bookend dynamic that changes. So and I really enjoyed that. There's something so satisfying about doing particularly like wider grip or overhand grip pull-ups. Just to kind of smash them out. And get up to sort of over 20 with those, and then the dips likewise. You're just kind of working through. The only downside is by the end of the cycle, I was kind of losing count.
Okay.
Especially on the first set, because you'd be quite nice and fresh, and you'd just kind of be repping through, and then your mind it was almost like meditation.
Yeah, you'd be thinking about something else, or you just wouldn't think at all, and then you're like, shit, have I done 18 or 22?
Well, that was it. I'd get past 15, and I'd kind of stop counting, and my mind would be somewhere else. My attention span was so short because it wasn't used to doing that amount of time in one particular set. So it's a lot of fun, really a lot of fun. And it's funny enough you mentioned about doing that, because I really want to get back there, because this sort of maintenance cycle that I've been on, pull-ups have been no more than about 10 at a time, because it's just more time than anything else. I've been doing them just to kind of keep them in the program.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't have time to do 15. I don't have time to do 20. And by the time I've kind of loaded up and recovered with the weighted stuff, I was like, do you know what? It's all about mid-range stuff just for time and keeping my hand in. So I'm actually getting to a point, like we were saying before, about really wanting to do something.
Yeah.
It's funny that you've mentioned it, because it's something I really want to do right now, is just go back to the high rep stuff.
Yeah, and that's it's the same for me. That I was kind of thinking about it, and I want to have, ideally, I want to be able to do like the 20 kind of range as ring muscle ups. I want to do like 20 ring muscle ups.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Imagine that. That's crazy, isn't it? But it's because I need to, for my 100 push-up challenge, I need to be able to do, by the end of the year, I want to be able to do like 20 90 degrees or 20 planche push-ups, or so these aren't soft goals.
No.
And it's bloody February. You know what I mean? Like, for us, it's February in 2 days. For when this comes out, it'll just been February. For fuck's sake, I've got to start doing some work.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I'm feeling very productive at the moment, but never in my life have I, more than now, have I wished for just more hours in the day. I really would love to cannibalise my sleep, but I know as soon as I do that, everything else is just going to drop off 1% at a time. So it's just more important to kind of put that in. I get the whole, hustle and grind thing, and work till 2 a.m. and sleep till 6 and then go again. And I'm sure I could somehow hack it to get by on 4 hours. But there's a real strict timeline on that before that starts to diminish you in so many different ways.
Yeah,
which then in turn will have a massive impact on other things in your life, because there's no segregation, there's no separation in life. One area of your life will invariably impact the other, and it's just how much and how badly, or how positively it does one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, this actually is another thing that I'm planning on doing. Is I spend a lot of time walking about. So what I've decided to do is, like, if I go to my mates, if I go down to see him for a bit or whatever, like if he wants to go and play on the Xbox for an hour, playing Gears, which is awesome, by the way, the new Gears. Have you played it?
No, I'll be honest, I'm not a big gamer. I mean,
I'm not either. I don't have a console. I don't play anything. I don't know what comes out, but I've played all the previous Gears games. I've played a lot of games, but I don't own a console. I'm not a gamer. I don't play games really. I just, when I'm around my mates, I'll give it join a session with him, we'll go online or whatever. And I figured I spend a lot of time walking about. which is great, you know, and the steady state stuff. And with my tracker, I've really got a hold on my just how much it actually raises your heart rate. Because you think, oh, you're only walking, that doesn't count as exercise. But actually, you're adding like 20 BPM to your resting heart rate. 30 BPM in some cases, like for some people maybe. Or if you're walking particularly fast, like brisk, you know. So it's like that in itself could be quite beneficial. But what I've decided to do, because I avoid any kind of cardio like the plague, is to just run everywhere. I'm just going to start jogging everywhere, like not take a bag with me anywhere. If I go down to my mates, I'm not taking nothing. I take my house keys, my phone, and my headphones, and I'm just going to run everywhere. I'm going to spend a cycle doing that and just see how that turns out as well.
Well, it's funny because, you know, full disclosure to everyone, we haven't had this conversation before the calls. This isn't like a staged conversation, but very.
Good.
No, God, I was going to say, very interestingly, that's exactly where I'm kind of at. And this has been something I've been trying to work out for a long time, in that I do a lot of walking. I'm very fortunate where I live. You know, it's only about a 20-minute walk to town. So a lot of the time, just because I like to get out of the house, I mean, I can work at home sometimes, but I like to get out and go and sit there's a really nice coffee shop. It's just a Cafe Nero, but, you know, it overlooks the market square. It's nice and light. You know, the baristas in there are really cool, and, you know, there's a nice sort of little work desk in there as well, a little workspace right by the window that I really enjoy.
That you've etched your name into.
Well, yeah, basically, it's like having I have to create an office space for myself. I realise that now after all these years of, you know, occasionally working at home with previous jobs, but now working pretty much full time. Yeah. You know, in front of a laptop, you know, wherever I choose, that I need to be somewhere where there's life. Actually, just as a slight side note, I actually did the. Have you heard of the book Quiet by Sarah Kane?
No.
It's about it talks about being an introvert in the modern world, or being introverted, extroverted, and there's a test online. I believe it's quietrev.com something. You know, there's an assessment there if people are willing to have a look at it, because it is just that insight into, you know, how introverted, extroverted are you, and most people would kind of self-diagnose and say, I'm very introverted, I'm very extroverted. I was always a bit on the fence. I was like, I'm not too sure. Am I somewhere in the middle? Is there such a thing as being in the middle? Apparently there is. There's something called an ambivert, which is what I am, according to these test results. So I'm someone that loves my own space and my own time, and I can be very creative on my own, but equally I thrive being around other people, you know, whether it's people I'm communicating with or just being around other human beings, interacting, having conversations, and you know, what better place than a coffee shop to do that. But back to the original point, because of that fortune, I can get up and walk into town. I'm now in the process of changing gyms. I'm probably going to quit the one that I've been at for a while. It's a little bit. Well, it's just a little bit further away, and because one of the main things that kept me there was that it had the swimming pool and the sauna and everything like that. But if I'm not making that a priority with my training, I'm just going to, now that I did have an annual membership there, but I've just, you know, it's just expired. So I'm going to go to the local one in town, which is actually better equipped. So as an actual gym space, it suits me much better. It just doesn't have like a budget gym. It doesn't have the all the fancy stuff like steam room and sauna and whatnot, but it's got more open space. There's a nice big studio space you can drop in and use if you need to. So lots of wall space to kind of practice handstand work and things like that. Lots of open space to just throw things around a little bit more and be a bit more dynamic in the training. Tends to be dead when I want to go there. So that's really ideal. Handy as well. Sorry?
That's ideal.
It is, yeah, it's perfect. And it's only like, whatever, it's 30 quid a month. So but that's right smack bang in town, so it means I can get up in the morning, go and do some work for a few hours, go to the gym, either stay in town, have lunch there and come back in the evening, or just come back in the afternoon if I've got calls or other things I need to do at home. So it's, you know, the best part about it is, you know, just the fact of thinking I don't have to get in a car, you know, for, you know, 3, 4, 5 days in a row for any particular reason. And even adding into that, when I do go into London, because I have clients up there and I have meetings and different things going on, you know, it's been on my list for ages to get my bike, which is currently stored at my parents' place, because I was in between houses and a little while ago and I just dumped it there. And I keep, every time I go back there, I'm just like, I must put it in the car and bring it back. And every single time I get about halfway up the A1, which is, you know, the road I use between mine and my parents and home, and I'm like, oh, you dick, you've left it behind again. Because that would be great, because I could then cycle to the station and I could come back from London, cycle to the gym, you know, just anything to put those extra miles, not so much extra calories, that's not a concern, but like you said, just getting, the heart rate up for, more than, especially when you do, like we do, spend a lot of time in front of a computer for work and whatnot, you don't realise that although you're spending all this time in the gym and we're working hard and pushing it, we are losing a lot by just being less active with our day-to-day job. Which is completely alien to me, having been a personal trainer for so many years and pretty much working on my feet back to back for 10, 11 hours a day, sometimes 15 hours actually at one point in my life. So I now realise I have to consciously, like a lot of people out there, and this is great in terms of empathy with clients, I'm actually having to deliberately structure more walking, more cycling, all this stuff into my life, which is a lot of fun. So it just basically sounds like I'm copying you a lot at the moment, doesn't it?
I wasn't going to put it like that, but now you've said it.
Yeah, it's just funny, isn't it? Like you kind of we talk every week, and yet it kind of comes up halfway through a call that right, okay,
I've been doing that.
I'm going to do that. So maybe what do we actually talk about the rest of the time?
Yeah, I don't know. We usually just mess about, don't we?
Yes, yeah. My God, I listened back to last week's episode actually the other day in its entirety. And when you just hear yourself and you're thinking, I'm making a good point there, and it just went on that little bit too long. When I was talking about the TV situation.
Yeah.
I was boring myself by the end. So apologies to anyone out there. I don't know why I got on that soapbox, but I think the point was valid. I just didn't need to drill it home quite as hard as I did.
It doesn't matter, mate. Sometimes you've got to just say everything a thousand times.
True, but it's also good to put your hand up and go, yeah, I was boring. So,
I wouldn't have said that, mate.
I'm sorry. But hopefully people still took something from it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a really good one. There's loads of stuff about the foam rolling, like stuff you could do, things to try out. I thought it was really good, mate.
Oh no, the episode was quality. In terms of the content, I was really happy with the majority of it. It was just that one thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of thinking, I really hope I stop talking about this now. That's the only thing with this sort of, the content that we're creating, podcasts, videos, stuff like that, that you almost can't help. I would love to not look back on things. I'd love, because it does take time to review your own content all the time. And, I don't want to kind of, as I said, I'm quite precious with that. But I think also in terms of development, you have to kind of watch back a little bit.
Yeah.
And listen back and check in with yourself to kind of learn. So I'll learn from that. But it's just that, you're sitting there thinking, because you ever get that with other people?
Yeah.
When you're listening to a piece of content and you're thinking, yeah, okay, I get it, like move on, and I start fast forwarding through webinars or, videos or podcasts because I'm like, God, this is dull. Normally it's when people are doing long advertising spiels at the beginning of their show.
Yeah, I hate that.
Well, it's funny, I've got to a point with, I think it was like the Tim Ferriss show, and there's another one, the Rich Roll podcast. And if you
just skip in 5 minutes straight away.
Yeah, I know if I skip exactly 6 minutes in, I'll miss all the kind of advertising spiel that they do at the beginning.
It's mad that it's 6 minutes. That's a long time, isn't it? We should start doing 3 minutes of advertising. So A, we don't bore people, and B, we start selling stuff and promoting our stuff more.
It's more the way it's done. Like, there are certain people who do it very, very well. They're just very honest about it and say, look, I use this product. I think it's great. Check it out. But there's other ones that they've obviously been given a very deliberate sales spiel to do.
Yeah.
And maybe just because of the people are spending a lot of money, and fair play to people cashing in, while they absolutely can. If someone's willing to write you the check, look, if someone comes to us with a 6-figure check and says, can you talk about our line of training equipment, for 2 minutes? Yep. Fine,
On it products, send me an email.
Everyone has their price, so let's
3 tubs of Alpha Brain for everybody.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly happy with that.
I love On It. I think some of their stuff's great.
Yes, they are awesome, and if anyone else out there is looking to get into On It products, then if you go to christopherthatcher.com/resources, you will find a link there to On It's website and their products. Full disclosure, that is an affiliate link, but On It products.
You bastard!
Oh yeah, just so I'd completely contradict myself and do the sales spiel. But again, stuff
On
like
It
that.
products. The only products to get it on.
I like that. That was quite good, actually.
It's going to get crazy, guys. This is an On It ad in disguise.
Yeah.
Have you tried? You must have tried a lot of their stuff, actually. If you've if you've got a link for them.
I've tried a lot of their stuff, but I've tried bits and pieces. But I know by reputation they are great. I mean, that's the problem with endorsing a company, because I can't possibly have tried all their products, but I know they are a very reputable brand. And also the nice thing about it is they don't just do supplements; they do equipment and stuff like that as well, and training courses.
I think their kettlebells look awesome. All the different animal heads.
Yeah, you get
I don't use them, but it'd be nice to have some. So if you want to just send me some free stuff, I'd be really grateful. Don't send it to Chris, because you're already paying him.
I should really check in with those affiliate links sometime and actually see if there's any money sitting there. But yeah, they are good. I certainly wouldn't put my name to them if they weren't a reputable company. And that's, especially in supplements, they're few and far between, because it's not that hard to set up a supplement company now, and there's a lot of very bargain basement, horrible crap out there that isn't really worth the investment. So anyway,
just Vaseline with a different sticker.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's so easy now. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've got emails from people saying, "Would you like to start your own supplement line?" It's literally it's literally white labeling. It's just, here's the same crap we give everyone else. You can pick a few additional products you can put into it, and you can go crazy with this stuff. Like some of these supplement companies, or these companies that make the supplement for you, they'll put in a lot of stuff. They'll go to kind of moringa and baobab and just loads of really kind of new exotic superfood things that are kind of the buzzword right now in terms of nutrition, but you just can't ever truly know the quality of it.
Yeah. I don't know how much I trust someone who was trying to sell me on private label supplements.
No, but the problem is, that's the thing, like, for me, I get it, because it's how most supplement companies are able to start, and then obviously as you go on further down the line, it's up to you about the quality control and what you do with the product, or how you develop the product yourself. But I mean, the best companies are the ones where it's someone who just was so sick and tired of the other rubbish out there, they decided, I'm going to go and do something better. But that takes time, effort, investment, research. There's a lot of stuff to go into that. So the best companies, it's great for people wanting to start up new brands, and there are some good new emerging supplements coming through. Another company is a company called Awesome Supplements, which I do also endorse. Awesome Supplements. A guy called Ben Coomer, who's a fellow podcaster, actually. He's got his own podcast, Ben Coomer Radio. But he runs a nutrition coaching company called Body Type Nutrition. And he's also set up a supplement company alongside that called Awesome Supplements. So they have a kind of wide range of different things as well. But again, he strikes me as someone who's very particular about what gets put into his products, because it's very hard to be a nutrition coach and not be particular about that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Someone's going to try and catch you out further down the line if you're not. I've been
thinking. Sorry to cut you off, mate.
That's right.
I've been thinking for ages to start wholesaling hemp protein and hemp seeds, and creating a company based on distributing hemp supplements to people.
Fair enough.
Particularly in the kind of strength and conditioning world.
Yeah.
I can't really sell you on that because you don't like the stuff.
What, hemp? No, I didn't say. I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I preferred pea protein. So I use pea protein predominantly for my smoothies and whatnot. I just found hemp didn't mix quite as nicely, but that's not to say it's not a good quality product if you get it from the right place. Maybe I just got the wrong stuff.
Well, no, it is. It is a bit grainy. Like, it is a bit, or not, sandy's the wrong word, but it's the first word that comes to mind. Infamous words of Palahniuk.
Have you tried pea protein as a comparison?
No, I haven't.
You should. I think you'd find it, because it's, off the top of my head, and I do store a lot of nutritional facts up there, so this could be slightly misguided. I do think per 100 grams you do get more protein in pea protein than you do in hemp on a particular brand. So I've predominantly only used Pulsin for those, for like vegetable-based proteins, and the hemp wasn't quite as high. I mean, it's negligible. I think it was like 69 grams versus 81. So it's not much of a difference, but certainly for people like you and I who don't eat a lot of protein from animal sources, then that can be a bit of a difference in terms of recovery and optimization with regards to strength and whatnot. So that's why I kind of dyed it. It was just convenient that it just tasted
A bit
that
easier.
That bit. Well, it wasn't even so much the taste. It was more the texture, like we've just said.
The general experience of it.
Exactly. If you just took a raw spoonful of hemp and a raw spoonful of pea protein powder, taste-wise, I doubt there's much between the two.
Yeah.
But one you'd think maybe just would probably dissolve a little bit better than the other.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway,
I haven't had any kind of protein supplement or anything like that in so long, like probably 8 months.
right.
I haven't used anything, not even hemp, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had like a kilo bag or whatever of it in the summer, and every kind of couple of weeks I might have a bit, but it's really just like a quick shake if I do need like a quick kind of meal replacement type thing. Otherwise, I haven't. It's just been all regular food.
That's cool.
Yeah. But I think it's about time I got back onto it. So
Well,
maybe I'll give a cheeky little bag of pea protein a go and see how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just about how you're feeling, isn't it? I mean, if you don't necessarily feel the need for it, then maybe you don't need, maybe you can carry on, but maybe just see how you perform if you do reintroduce it, see if your strength gains and, just sort of general recovery more than anything else increases.
But yeah, that's what I think will happen, because I don't know if it's like, I don't know exactly why, but I feel like I've kind of lost touch with my diet and like just being so aware of it, aware of when I'm eating, what I'm eating. And I think that's one of the great things about having like a protein shake is that it's almost like a little ritualistic guarantee that you're getting some good nutrition, and it's like a good fallback.
Yeah.
So like just knowing every morning, all right, I'm going to stop doing my intermittent fasting so heavy, and every morning I'm going to have a shake first thing. Then I know that's done. You've got loads of protein, fill up your body. Do you know what I mean? It's a good couple of vitamins and minerals if you're on the hemp and the natural stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be good for me to kind of do that and to kind of get back in the swing of it. And I think it'll help motivate me a bit more to be like, let's get. It's not that I need motivation. That kind of came out wrong. I'm really struggling with it. I'm not. It's just that I think that'll help me kind of get back in the zone of it a bit more.
Yeah, I think it's a good way of going about it. I mean, it's a large part of my daily nutrition is to have a green juice. I think I've probably spoken about it before, but it's like everything you said. It gives me the right sort of hit of nutrients and minerals and other things, and I can get a good sort of protein hit. I mean, I tend to use spinach, kiwis, avocados, banana, pea protein. I put some creatine in there as well, a little bit of ginger sometimes. Maybe I sometimes use a bit of grapefruit juice as well, because that's super good food for you as well. And I make quite a large one, so I normally have like half of it with breakfast, and then maybe half as like a recovery drink after training, just kind of quick and easy on the go. But because I know I've done that, I mean, the rest of the time I'll try and be pretty dialed in terms of getting lots of good veggies in, good quality fruit and good quality foods generally in. But it kind of gives me that little bit of freedom, to know that, okay, well, if I'm not 100% perfect, if I'm a little bit rushed, if lunch just has to be a sandwich, then I can't have the kind of typical, more varied meal that I would like, then it's okay because I did that, and it is a very big part of my morning ritual is to get up and put all that together. So, I think it's very healthy because it just sets a bit of a standard, I think, for your nutrition for the rest of the day, just to be more intent and more mindful about what you're actually doing.
Yeah. Oh. It's just gone everywhere.
Just nothing else. Just it's gone everywhere. I mean, that was good.
All right, cool. I think I will.
I enjoyed that. I just gave you me doing it as well, so that was even better.
Listen, the whole place is now a purpley red state. I look like I've just murdered someone.
Well, that's
I've got it
probably,
all dripping down my arms.
that's probably as good a place as any to
Yeah,
to
I was
sign
going to
off.
say you're short of time. So should we not worry about rock, paper, scissors because I just beat you too much? I think it's your turn to do an outro, isn't it?
Shocking. Is that just because you want to clean yourself up?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, I'll take it on. We'll break
Cheers,
the trend.
mate. I owe you one. I owe you an outro.
No worries. Okay, guys, if you like what you heard today, please do head on over to iTunes, subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know why you wouldn't have, but hopefully you will. And if not, do so right now. I invite you to subscribe. You know, personal invitation from myself. Otherwise, go over, leave a rating, leave a review, let other people know about the show, share it around. If you see any links on social, by all means, give it to people to do with as they please, but hopefully they'll listen to it, which would be fantastic. I don't know where I'm going with this. But if you have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out. You can get in touch with Rhys via morethanlifting.com. You can get in touch with me via christopherthatcher.com. You can find us on social as Coach Thatch and More Than Lifting. We're in most places. We're not always the most prolific posters, but we are there. We are checking in. We are looking to connect in any way you would like to. So if you've got questions, comments, feedback about the show, please do come and find us in any of those places whatsoever. Rhys.
No, that's about it, mate. I think you covered all bases there. The only thing I would say, guys, is if you're interested in getting started, check out morethanlifting.com/28transformation for the 28-day transformation program. And if you're interested in doing a bit of endurance training or something a bit more crazy, get your reps up, then think about getting involved with the 100 push-up challenge as well, which is something I'm just running all year, every week, a different 100 push-up challenge for you to try out, just to get a bit involved and mix up your training a bit. It's nice and fun.
Awesome. Sounds good, mate. And yeah, we'll hopefully have some more information about some meetups and workshops and other things we've got coming in the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that, because it will be great fun just to kind of connect with you all in person in some way, shape or form if we can. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think
Awesome.
that'll do. Cool.
That's it,
All
mate,
well,
I think.
You're cleaned up now?
Yeah, you crack on. I'm going to have to finish up tidying up my workspace. And alright, mate. Well, yeah, you crack on. I know you're in a bit of a rush, so get on with it, and I'll see you on the webinar.
Cool. Yeah, good point. Yeah, good luck with that. And yeah, to everyone out listening out there, see you next time.
Yeah, keep in touch with yourselves, guys. Love, 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 love.